My name is Gaël Hermet. I'm what would be the CEO of a company called Prosoluce. It's a small business, a small telecommunication operator in the south of France.
Okay.
We've been doing that for a few years, and we've just achieved building our first data center.
Okay. So how long have you been there?
In this business,
Yeah,
might be 5 years,
okay.
something like that. And we've been growing 30% a year. So
Wow.
hiring and building a new network and everything else. It's going fine. And because now we've reached the end of what we can do with off-the-shelf simple equipment. Now
Okay.
we are trying to move to build a new network using more serious products, more serious solution.
Okay.
That's
Sounds
where we
good.
are yet.
Okay, great. We'll dig into that a little bit. So, and how do you know these other people who are in the room with us?
Well, Hadi, we met. They got to us because we were searching for solution for network equipment.
Okay.
We were pretty frustrated with the other vendors. It was kind of hard to discuss with them, especially because we are so small.
Okay.
And they reached out to us, and we liked the solution, and we went forward, and now we are working together.
Okay.
They helped us through this journey too.
Excellent. So then it's opportunity for you, Hadi. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Hadi Choueiry. I founded Pine Networks in 2021.
Okay.
We are a system integrator specialized in open networking.
Oh, fantastic.
So we specialize in routing, switching, anything related to ISPs, internet service providers, data centers.
Okay.
And we are partner of IP Infusion in France and other countries.
Okay. And you're based in France?
We are based in France.
Okay.
Yeah. And as Gaël mentioned, we reached out to them because we evolve around the alternative ISPs in France, the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew who they were, we reached out to them. And this is how the journey started. Basically, we had lots of discussion with Gaël and tried to understand what they're trying to do. And we introduced open networking, which already Gaël knew a bit about.
Right. But weren't deploying it yet. Not really.
I really thought it was just for big hyperscaler and everything. I thought it was not meant for us, so I discarded.
Okay.
And he came back to us and said, no, we have solution, especially with IP Infusion, where they give a solution with all-in-one packaging with software, hardware, and everything. We can still choose and change what we want, but we have a simpler way of getting in this world of open networking.
Okay. Sounds great. And then you're leveraging IP Infusion and their products?
Correct. The IP Infusion network operating system, and then the offering they put around it, the support, etc.
Okay.
And, on top of that, we provide our expertise, helping customers like Prosoluce, kind of design the architecture, how to put open networking into practice. And also just show them that, there might be some details, but anything is possible. It's not rocket science.
Okay. Sounds good. And then Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes. Hi, I'm Kelly Leblanc, the Chief Marketing and Product Officer for IP Infusion. We're based in Santa Clara, which is where our headquarters is, where I'm located. And I'm really pleased to be here with my great partner and customer. So we've been working together now for a couple months with Hadi. He's our systems integrator partner.
Okay.
We have several customers together, including Prosoluce with Gaël. And in fact, we were just here yesterday on stage talking about the deployment that we have together. It's a really interesting case. I guess you'll ask more questions on this to deep dive into
of course,
because it's really, I think, the essence of open networking and what Gaël has done.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll start with Gaël because you're the customer at the end, and that's where all the problems start.
Yeah. Well, we've been lucky enough that we didn't have any major problem.
Okay.
The main problem that we had was to try to understand the differences between the solution using open networking, multi-packaging, and everything, and comparing this with a normal vendor solution.
Yeah, legacy solutions, proprietary solutions.
And it's actually not that different for us because we are so small. We don't rely on complex automation system and everything. We just run the system, configure them directly using ECLite. We found it pretty easy.
Okay.
So yeah, even deployment was pretty easy.
But maybe that's not what you expected at first. At first, you had mentioned when we were first talking about, you thought open was for the bigger companies, hyperscalers, things like that. Exactly. And so you thought it was going to be complex.
Yes.
But that's not really how it turned out.
Well, it's not complex, and it's not scary anymore. It's not that it was complex. It was scary because I talked with a lot of operator ISP in France, and nobody was using anything except Cumulus.
Okay.
And they lost a lot of business when they switch to NVIDIA and everything.
Okay.
And so there was kind of a bad reputation around open networking and everything.
Interesting.
So it was scary. But now that we did it, I'm pretty sure a lot of other small companies like us will follow us. And I'm sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a budding ecosystem. There's more smaller customers like you that we're hearing every day.
Yeah,
which is great. So how did you get in contact with Pine Networks? You reached out?
Actually, one of my colleagues, he was doing quite a bit of research on the alternative ISPs in France. So what we call alternative are everything besides the big, huge telcos.
Okay.
So there are 4 huge or big telcos in France.
Okay.
And then there's around 100 or more of alternative internet service
providers.
They cover different regions.
Some are national, but most of the alternative ISP like us are regional or very local.
Okay, you have infrastructure deployed in a specific region of France.
Exactly. And we interconnect and everything. So we share some I don't know, some info, some I don't know what would be the word, knowledge. We share knowledge about how to do things because
between the different service providers.
Because we are on different geographic location.
Yeah, you're not competitors.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. So you were kind of already just culturally looking for community to share and collaborate with. You were doing it within your own industry, your own segment of the industry, and then now open, it's really just a continuation of that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So then your colleague did the research, you have a prospective customer,
right?
They're of a certain size. What's kind of the early steps as you evaluate what solutions you're going to put forward?
Yeah, so as since we really started from zero with the open networking in France. So we were calling a lot of potential customers and prospects and basically saying, hey, do you know anything about open networking or disaggregated networking? And they're like, no, what is this? And they're like, we'd take an hour and just explain to them what it is, tell them what is the OCP, what is the tip, who are the players, basically kind of education. We spent a lot of time doing education and training people, explaining to people what it is.
Yeah.
And then once they start to understand it, you give them some real world examples. They're like, okay, let's talk more. And then, for example, with Gaël, he said he was trying to upgrade his network infrastructure, like his backbone, to provide more capacity.
Okay, so capacity was your issue at the time as you were growing.
Yeah, we had to replace our backbone because for capacity,
right?
But we started looking at a different solution. We almost go through with Huawei and the whole geopolitical situation evolving. We decided to not take that risk.
Okay.
So we had to find an alternative, and that's when things got complicated because we talked with the big vendors like Juniper, Cisco, and everything.
Sure.
We couldn't talk with them directly because we are so small. They just send us to a distributor somewhere.
Right.
There is usually no engineer in this distributor, so
it's just product.
Yeah,
not a lot
exactly.
of service.
So we couldn't manage to find a solution that worked well, and it was overpriced for us. So when Hadi got to us, it looked too good to be true at the beginning, because finally we had somebody we could talk with and find solution and discuss.
Right.
And he managed to he understood pretty early what we wanted to do, and that made the whole thing pretty simple.
Fantastic. So you had someone who talked to you that wasn't just selling you a product, technically understood what your challenges might be.
Yeah.
From deployment, from what types of solutions to layer.
Yeah.
So what's some of the Hadi, you mentioned that you spent a lot of time educating these other service providers in the market. What's some of the early objections you get when you start proposing, hey, we're going to go open networking, and they're comfortable with, these handful of vendors?
The first, challenges they raise is support. They're like, hold on, I'm getting software from somewhere, hardware from somewhere, and then if something goes wrong, I'm going to be by myself.
Yeah.
They're going to start pointing fingers at each other.
Sure.
This is one of the biggest objections for them. The second one is, and going back to the first one, I think IP Infusion did a great job in kind of bundling, kind of putting together a good support offering.
Okay.
So it kind of resembles the traditional way of how people are used to work.
Okay.
And obviously with the partnership, we had IP Infusion. So for example, now if Gaël or Prosoluce or another company has an issue, they reach out to us and we would resolve the problem with them with the support of IP Infusion. We're not going to tell Gaël, I don't know, go check with the hardware vendor.
Right.
It doesn't seem to be a software problem. So we kind of try to make their life as easy as possible.
Okay.
So this is one of the biggest objections. The second is, and this one we easily overcome, is people think it's, when they hear open networking, they immediately think it's kind of open source. You do whatever you want. Like there's no standard, there's nothing. So they're like, am I going to program my router and encode it? And we're like, I mean, you can if you want, but we can help you in a way where it's much easier. You don't have to go into the code. You don't have to be a developer.
Is that, you had said earlier, is that some of the reasons why people think that open's just for the big hyperscalers? Because
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because when you try to search for use case for open networking, you usually find hyperscalers that use automation and everything. It does not really apply to us.
Right.
Our backbone is 8 devices. It's not that big of a deal to manage.
Right.
So
Interesting.
it changes perspective when you look at it that way. We don't rely on all this complex automation system. We just run it like any other switch.
Yeah, you have enough people in your organization that can manage those 8 devices. Interesting. So Kelly, how does, when Pine Network reached out, were you working before on other projects or did you connect on this project?
No, we were already partners.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll let you answer.
No, it's okay. And then so Kelly, how does, how do you look at Hadi's customer together? Is it you set requirements or do you look at it together, and how does this work?
We look at it together. Yeah,
Okay.
we are true partners. So if Hadi brings to us a customer prospect, we do everything we can to, make sure that we can be successful with the customer together. And in fact, this is a really exceptional case because both Prosoluce and Pine Networks have been contributing to the community, which is what I look for. So once we had the case was successful, Prosoluce agreed to write up a full case study with us and publish it.
Yeah.
And so once those lessons were learned, then Pine Networks continuously publishes tutorials on the best steps, best cases, how it works to educate the community. And actually, that's how you have discovered us all together and invited us to your conference.
Yeah.
Because these things were found and readily available. So you contacted us and now we're all here. So for me, it's really, 3-way partnership. And we have to give back to the community and educate because like they're both saying, it's really still people have anxiety.
Yep.
They're skeptical.
Sure.
And they're afraid because they don't understand how it works. But once they see these case studies, these tutorials and other pieces, it's like, okay, this is really something.
Yeah, the readers and other people in the community want to see other businesses, other customers like themselves.
Yes.
Oh, this is how someone else has done it. I could do it too. Right. Well, we're looking forward to that. We've seen the case studies; they've come through, and we're really looking forward to getting those published on the OCP website so that other people can search them and have access to your lessons learned and hopefully future things you guys are up to. So let's turn it towards to solution. We kind of got the background and went through the challenges and how somebody navigates. Okay, we're gonna go open, and we'll start with you, Kelly. Like as we start to put together a solution. You've looked at it with your partner together. What are some of the solutions you set off to use on this project?
Well, first of all, we always look at the use case. So in this case, for the solution, they were upgrading 10 gig to 100 gig backbone network.
Okay.
And so you have to make sure, first of all, that the feature set's appropriate, the capacity is appropriate, they have the right port count. And so you're doing that between our software and a selection of hardware to pick.
Right.
So once you have the right match, then you bundle it together and put together the entire package. So the good news on this case is it's a popular case for us. If you're talking about replacing Huawei or alternative to Juniper,
right,
or, replacing Cisco, these are things we do every day.
Okay.
That's our market. We replace legacy equipment with open networking solutions. And so this case was a nice fit because we had actually a form factor that was already designed.
Okay, yeah, lots of experience already. So then what is Hadi, from your perspective, what pieces start to come into play?
Yeah, so I mean, the most important part, I think we spoke with Gaël, we had lots of sessions before we even got to the product part, just to understand what is the existing, what are the challenges, like, he had an existing infrastructure, had some challenges, as running layer 2. There's some challenges around this kind of design. So we really spent a lot of time just trying to understand before saying, hey, here's a product, just put it in the network.
Right.
So we tried to figure that out. And then the next step was understanding where, they want to go in the future. Because it's simple to upgrade, but you also have to think about what's going to happen in 3, 4, 5 years.
Sure. What investments can I make today that's going to save me over the next 5, 10 years maybe?
Yeah. Because they're not going to spend, a chunk of money to throw away the equipment in a couple of years.
Right.
It's important for their business. And I guess everybody would think this way. So we try to understand where they want to go, what kind of architecture is needed. And then here you have to also look based on the feature that we want to use. You have to be careful to select the right product because there are a lot of different ASIC variants, from Broadcom, and one could do this, but not that. So you have to be careful in selecting the right platform. And then also working with IP Infusion all the time, throughout the exchange.
Compatibility and what pieces will be software and what's hardware.
Exactly.
And what's the mix look like?
Exactly. Would this hardware be able to do this functionality? You may need to look at this other SKU of hardware because it support better functionality, better scalability, or etc. So this is how the piece comes together. And throughout all the process, what I like about working with IP Infusion, they're always available. They're system engineers, even the development to answer our questions because there are a lot of things which we are still learning as well.
Sure.
It's a new space, open networking.
Yeah.
So they're always available to validate what we're proposing to our customers. If we are not, something specific that needs to be kind of proven. So this is how it kind of came together, and obviously with Gaël, going back and forth. And, what I like about the process there, Gaël really challenged us on different aspects.
Oh, yeah.
Not just technical and energy consumption, because they are very careful about their carbon footprint.
Fantastic.
So they kind of looked at it from so many different angles, which was also good for us to understand, how customers look at things. It's not just product and price and there's support, there's energy consumption, there's so many different things.
Interesting. So how long, Gaël, you mentioned, and life cycles on equipment for larger companies may not be quicker. What was your plan for this hardware? How long do you expect it to be in place?
I think it's at least 5 years, but probably more.
I don't know.
The what that we are replacing have been for part of it are at least 10 years old.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's
So the decisions you make are going to be lasting.
yeah, exactly. That's why it's so important.
Yeah.
We have to think about what we might do in the future, how the industry might evolve
Sure.
one way or another. We have to try to guess everything and find something that works now and will work in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like that's a little tougher these days than maybe it was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Predicting what your customer load might be, predicting,
Yeah, especially when we try to think also about energy efficiency and heat dissipation and everything. It's everything that you had on top of this already complex situation make the whole decision a lot more complex.
Yeah.
And you have to weigh everything to try to find the right match. So that took some time. We got there.
Okay, good. Well, what are some of those solutions you're using today? Like OCP, you know?
You mean in hardware?
Yeah, hardware.
It's well, I don't even know the reference.
It's the Edge Core AS 7726 32X. It's a 3200 gig port leaf switch.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's OCP
Compliant. Yeah, OCP compliance.
compliant
solutions.
solution.
Yeah, so we have OCP inspired and OCP accepted is typically our product categories. And so the difference on OCP accepted or inspired is design files. So they're both meet open specifications. So they're open hardware by definition. The only difference is OCP accepted is that the vendor has published the design files for the product.
Yeah.
And that's really the only difference. They're very similar, and even we see on the hyperscale or large enterprise customer, unless somebody has a very specific requirement about needing those design files, it's really not much of a consideration typically. So for whatever that's worth. So can you share some early findings? Okay, you've selected the hardware, the product's in place. First, how long has the product been in place?
It's been maybe 3 months.
It's pretty recent.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. Especially because we are on the end of the building of the new data center, and everything is kind of late, which is usually the case.
Yes, sounds like building a data center.
So we are so late on this part because everything got delayed.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been running for a few months. Right now, it's only a part of our network that is migrated because we are still waiting for a few things to be finished in the new building to move equipment.
So you're still a bit in a migration phase. You have some.
Yeah. But it's everything is in place. We just have to migrate the links.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a few hours of work
that you're just waiting to do.
Yeah.
Any forecast on when you start that process, or
in the coming weeks?
Oh, very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, very soon. So maybe by the time this podcast's even published, it may be done.
Probably.
We'll have to come back and talk about it and get another update.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, good. Any on the early ones you have deployed? Any early findings that you're saying, or anything you've shared at the conference? And this can go to anybody.
I don't know what would be.
Well,
Have you benchmarked it against existing hardware around energy consumption or capex, or is it too soon?
No, energy consumption we did do it, and because it's a huge gap from what we are using right now, but
From performance.
For energy consumption.
Oh, okay.
But we are currently running a 10 gig network, so it makes sense that upgrading to something that is much faster is also consuming more energy. It's makes
Sure.
sense. So we had to find a way to see how it impact the rest of the operation, and it turns out that actually network equipment doesn't consume that much energy, and if you compare to computing resources and everything,
Yeah.
so it's not that important in the data center case. It is important because we have also switches in the street. I don't know what could be.
Cabinet.
Yeah, in street cabinets.
Oh, okay.
When it gets hot, you don't have a lot of power. So in this case, we have to find devices that are much more energy efficient, because in this case it matters a lot more.
Oh, because it changes. It's not just about the energy consumption; it's about the environmental conditions it creates, heat, things like that. As you're talking about switches deployed in outdoor enclosures, they don't have climate control or very limited climate control.
And you pay energy at much higher prices.
Oh, okay. Oh, because you're not in your data center. Yeah, that makes sense. How about from Pine Network's perspective? Did you have as you said, Gaël had asked a bunch of different questions, looked at this from a 360 point of view. Did you meet those compliance, or did you start to set expectations against his existing equipment? How did that discussion go as you responded to those requests?
Yeah, actually, what I like about working with the Prosoluce was the transparency. Like, we kind of Gaël shared with us information about energy consumption of alternative or existing solution, alternative options. And some of the stuff we had answers to, some of the stuff we had to go and research, which was good learning for us.
Yeah.
We have to go and kind of do the exercise ourselves and benchmark and compare what would be the energy consumption if you have no SFPs in your switch, which doesn't make sense, or if it's full of SFPs and this kind of thing. So we had kind of to create tables and comparison. It was helpful for us, and I think it clarified those things to Gaël and to the team. So yeah, that was one factor. And then, obviously we know what traditional solution out there. They're usually much bigger chassis based, and then they consume much more energy. So we could easily get our point across, why we believe some of the products or hardware we're proposing could make sense for what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So how much of those questions and I imagine much of it's around the hardware side. How much came to IP Infusion through that process? What pieces, Kelly, did your team look at as they did the evaluation?
Well, I know our SE team was heavily involved in all the specs and designs. So yeah, it was a learning experience for us as well.
Yeah.
And I can even go a step farther. So when I spoke about how Prosoluce's case is the essence of open networking, it's also because in addition to these topics, the interoperability topic was significant. So they have Alcatel, Huawei, MikroTik, Ubiquiti, all of these things. And we had to interop with all of these different platforms. And so that also brought many research opportunities to make sure. And we learned together how to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like the definition of a true prosumer, right? Because you're using the hardware, you're activating, but then you're also sharing back to the community of what your experience was and how other people can leverage it. That's fantastic. Let's see. How about next steps in the journey? You said, in a couple weeks you have switches in place to turn on. How does your relationship? It's not just, okay, here's your new system. Good luck. I'm certain you two are involved as the next year goes on.
Well, there is the support part that we hope we won't need it, but we might.
Sure.
So this relationship will continue, even if it's just that. But I'm pretty sure it's not just that. We still have a lot of part of our network that we might need to upgrade or to improve. And so we talk about these subjects later.
Okay.
Like access layer and everything, because we upgraded the backbone,
right?
Not the rest. And there is the whole compute part, because we now have a data center that it's mostly housing. So we don't have a lot of equipment in it, but we still we are trying to find ways to provide services. And coming here in the summit, I could see a few opportunities, watching what's available, what can be done. I mean, it changed the way I plan things for these services and hosting different kind of services.
Yeah, outside of just the networking approach and the solution you found, it kind of changes how you evaluated
Yeah.
the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit of a different way of thinking in open. And it sounds like you guys have a great customer relationship. I mean, it's not often you have customers that are so transparent that you can actually solve the problem. They set a set of requirements and then you're kind of guessing into a black box a bit. I don't think the open ecosystem is that's not a good approach in the open ecosystem. Let's see. So, anything else you want to add from Pine Networks or IP Infusion on the future? And what, this sounds like a fairly unique or great case study of a customer who's very transparent, but also is looking at multiple elements of their entire system. How do you follow up? What comes in the next coming months?
I can start. So, I mean, I think we created a good relationship with Gaël over this project. So we are regularly in contact, about the existing deployment and, brainstorming sometimes about things that could be done in the future. Like even yesterday here at the summit, just walking around and thinking kind of out loud, this could be interesting, or this could be something interesting for what you guys are trying to achieve. So obviously we will continue, working and keeping the relation with Prosoluce.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a good example is you're here, right?
Yeah.
You're here together, sharing the story together. That's good. That's excellent. How about from your perspective, Kelly?
Oh, I'd like us to be back next year.
Okay, great.
Thinking about the success and the evolution of this case. If there's more use cases we can work on and there's more lessons learned we can share.
You're trying to find more great customers like Prosoluce, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. If we could replicate Gaël, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
There's only one.
Yeah, what advice would you give to other, maybe your fellow ISPs? So are you sharing this with your other ISPs that are regional and small in your experience? Are any of them doing something like this, or are you kind of the first?
Yeah, we're the first. And I think some will reach out to ask questions, I'm pretty sure. And I am looking forward to it because it's been very interesting to see that side of the industry that we just discarded before, and it's actually pretty interesting. And there are a lot of solutions to our problems, everyday problems. I mean, and I think if it's suited us, it might suit also and fix their problems, and it's a good solution for a lot of people. I think maybe not everyone, but.
Sure. Other than advocating for it, is there any piece of advice you would give someone who's thinking about like, okay, it sounds like it's working for you. You've shared your story. Mm-hmm. Any advice you would give to those other service providers?
Well, I think it's a pretty generic advice, but you have to try it out and see if it works for you. I think that's the essence of discovering a new thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
To try.
Before we wrap up, before we close up, any last words, Kelly?
Oh, just thank you, Rob.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for picking Lisbon. We are on the national holiday today here. It's a special day.
Yeah, we are.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Sure is. Hadi?
Just thank you for setting this up, and thank you also for, Gaël for attending, and then for Kelly for facilitating all of this. And we're happy to be part of the community.
Yeah, welcome. We're happy to have you. And great stories like this and great customer relationships is always something we want to see and showcase. So thank you all.
Thank you.